to stream. Okay, now I'm in the stream. Let me turn on some more lights here. And then see where you see it. What do you see?
I see a black screen.
Okay, there's a 10-second lag. So what about...
There we go.
Where did you go to get access to it?
It just popped up on my thing, on my homepage. It says, Leslie, the next is live.
Oh my God, so cool. Okay. Very cool. All right, we're standing by then. We're standing by. How fun. How very, very fun. That's what it looks like for me. There's a lot of shit in the background just piled up.
That's why I came in here.
Oh, can you fix it? You know, just you live and you learn. You live and you learn, team. Great. Great. It's happening. Oh, not now. Oh, thank you, phone. God, I feel like I should be more formal, like, because it's a LinkedIn live instead of a TikTok live, but that's not really my scene. That is not really my scene. And let's see if I share something. Slides, Google Slides, add Google Slides. Let's see what happens here. Just kind of learning along with me, team. Select. And so then I think I'm going to be sharing slides. I mean, if you could see how many lights I have on right now and how dark it still looks. Like, do I get them closer to my face? Jeez. Jeez, team. Jeez. It's just so dark. How do you think you like optimize for brightness, huh? We're all learning together. Isn't that so fun? Aren't we just having fun? Fun, fun, fun. Let's click here and see what that does. No, that's not anything. I don't know. I feel like you guys can probably see me. If I add to stream, sales team builder times business book club. And then I Okay, I'm back. I mean, I feel like I have a pretty good handle on this. We're really early. Honestly, I thought it would take me more time to figure this out. But I feel like we're doing a pretty darn good job. I would like love for people to drop in the comments where you're joining us from. That would be good to know. And also whether or not you've read the book. And if you've not read the book, totally not a big deal at all. You don't need to have read Tech Powered Sales to get value out of this. And I'm going to share this deck that I made afterwards. So don't sweat it if you've not read the book. But yeah, drop into the comments and let me know if you have read the book or not and where you are joining us from, please. Great. That's kind of cool. I've never hosted my own LinkedIn Live before. I've only joined other people's, so it's actually like pretty fun to get to try something for the first time. Like, how often in life do we actually get to try something for the first time? So yeah, drop into the comments. Let me know where you are joining from. And please let me know if you have read Tech Powered Sales. If you haven't, no big deal. Maybe you have it, you haven't started it. Like, where are you on your Tech Powered Sales journey? We're in snowy Colorado at 0 degrees today. Yuck. That's yuck. That's yucky. I hate that for you. It was actually beautiful in Chicago yesterday. Like, I want to say it got up to like 45 or something. Like, it got really, really nice. It was such a treat. We were able to have, like, I have a window here. You can not really see it, but kind of had the window open all day and had the door to the balcony open all day. So there's a lot of fresh air coming in. So that was super, super, super nice. So I started this stream really early because I thought it was going to take some time for me to figure everything out, because it's my first time using the third-party streaming platform. It's my first time hosting a LinkedIn Live. I feel like I actually got it figured out a bit faster than I thought I would. So we are going to give it a little bit of time. We'll wait till 5 to get started. I actually have a guest that is also joining me at 5, Patrick William Joyce. So want to give him a chance to join as well. But while we're waiting, please drop into the chat. Let us know where you are joining from. And then I'm super keen to know where you are on your journey of reading Tech-Powered Sales. Have you finished it? Have you just started? Are you halfway through? Did you pick it up and, like me, realize that it was like the densest book ever, the densest book I've read maybe since college? It took me like 6 weeks to read. Like, it never takes me 6 weeks to read a book, but this bad boy is dense. That's why I created these slides to support. And so the slides have some, aha moments in them, some, kind of like fun facts, some top takeaways, some questions that I'd love to pose to you to see what your thoughts are. Yeah, cool, Kevin, that would be amazing. It's my first time doing a LinkedIn Live. I'm running it on my TikTok Live as well, which I have a lot more experience with. So if you see me looking down here, or if you see me looking up here, it's because I'm doing dual lives, because unfortunately, TikTok does not have any integrations for, it doesn't have any integrations for third-party streaming apps. You can like stream native in TikTok, but you can't stream anywhere else, where like StreamYard, which is the third-party platform that I decided to use, can go to Facebook, which I don't have that, but the possibility is there. And it can go to like Twitter and maybe Twitch and YouTube. Like, it has a handful of integrations. So we're doing dual lives. We're doing TikTok here. We're doing LinkedIn here. TikTok peeps, DM me, and I can drop the link to the slide deck that I made for this, or you're obviously welcome to pop on to my LinkedIn news feed, and the link is there. It's in the event in the comments. Yeah. Lola TV was working for third-party streaming, but you'd be vertical. Oh, that's interesting. I was trying to do some research to see if there was anybody that did LinkedIn and TikTok, because those are my channels. And there was nobody that did that seamless integration. And I was like, of course, because I chose 2 channels that for most people just don't seem to compute, don't seem to go together. That's great for TikTok though. StreamYard is amazing for LinkedIn. Yeah, I mean, I'm liking it so far. I've guested on a lot of LinkedIn lives and like podcasts and webinars that used StreamYard, and I've had really good experiences as a guest. Same with Restream. I feel like that's the other really like popular. That's the other really popular one. So yeah, just a few more minutes here, like 4 more minutes here. We're gonna wait for my co-host, Patrick William Joyce, to join us. He is fully trained. Justin Michael is one of the authors, and he has his own sales methodology, and Patrick's fully trained in it. So I think he's going to be a really interesting guest to just kind of bounce ideas off of and share real life applications of when all of the like teachings and templates of this book were put into use, what it looked like. What is this? Hey, Michelle. LinkedIn is my favorite professional platform. Should I find you there instead? You can find me anywhere, Michelle. Whatever is most convenient to you, that's what's most important to me. We are doing dual lives. I'm here with you on TikTok. I'm here with you on LinkedIn. So we are kind of in a dual live situation, since unfortunately there aren't any third-party platforms that do streaming for LinkedIn and TikTok simultaneously. But it's okay. We're making it work. It's my first time hosting from StreamYard on my own. It's my first LinkedIn Live that I'm hosting on my own. So we're going through the process together, team. We're experiencing all of these firsts together. So thank you for your support. Thank you for being along with me in this journey. Do me a favor, drop in the comments where you are on your journey with tech-powered sales. Have you not ordered it, not read any of it? Have you ordered it, but you haven't started it? Maybe you're halfway through. Maybe you are finished. It did take me legit like 6 weeks to read. It is super meaty. You'll laugh because you can see as I flip through it that there is like a ton of highlighting done. I mean, I legit read it like a school book because there was so much content. Like I had to highlight the stuff that I really wanted to remember and make sure I could come back to. I could only read a couple of chapters at a time, and then I had to set it down and like digest what I read. So it's a meaty one. That's also why I created this complimentary slide deck. It's just some of the kind of like big aha moments and like fave pieces. But hopefully that should, if you haven't already ordered it, pique your interest to order it and should give us some good discussion points for the live. Okay, so let me see let me see if I have any messages from my co-host that I am missing. Nope, we're good to go. He is on his way in to join us. So while he's waiting to join us, maybe I'll just tell you a little bit about Patrick. So he is, we were in the GTM games, the go-to-market games together, which is something that Justin, one of the authors, hosts. He absolutely smoked me. Like absolutely smoked me. I got eliminated. He went on to win. He's fully trained. Justin Michael, the author, has his own sales methodology based on his career in B2B sales, based on past successes, and certainly based on what he learned while putting together tech-powered sales. And so Patrick will be able to share like some of the insights of what it's looked like to put these learnings in into practice. And right now he is the head of sales development at Sapling. He just started that 2 months ago. I know he does some stuff on the side as well. But prior to that, he was at Tidal, which is a like outsourced BDR SDR company, which I know that people have had really good experiences with. He was the VP of R&D there. So he should be joining us any second. I know he's just coming out of another meeting, but I feel like we can get started. Like between TikTok and LinkedIn, we have about 20 people online. So this is really exciting. Let me scroll through these comments. Yes, Kevin, thank you. For my TikTok people, you can find me on LinkedIn at Leslie Vanette. For my LinkedIn people, you can find me on TikTok at Sales Tips Talk, plural. Really should have pronounced it a few more times before I settled on that handle, but it's too late now. It's 30,000 followers, too late now. Okay, so who else do we have here? Great. Yes, Michelle, please connect with me on LinkedIn as well. We can connect everywhere. Erin, hello. How are you? So nice to see you. Heather, hello. How are you today? Happy Tuesday to you as well. Awesome. So we have a really good crowd. Yeah, like 20 people between TikTok and LinkedIn, which I got to admit is kind of more people than I thought were going to show up for my first book club. So I'm feeling pretty good about myself. And as always, I like deeply, deeply appreciate your support. And I appreciate you showing up for these conversations. Emma, hello. How are you today? So Patrick is going to be joining us shortly. So please drop in the chat where you are on your journey with tech-powered sales. Have you not even started it? Are you halfway through? Have you finished it? Curious to know that. And let us know where you are joining from as well. I mean, this is such like a great group. Sales mechanic, hello. Yeah, this is a really, really great group. So the business book club is something that I decided to do at the beginning of the year. It's kind of always been in the back of my mind as something I'd like to do. I love, love, love reading. I try to read one sort of business sales book a month, but I'm a voracious reader of fiction. I love fiction. I love historical fiction. I have a real weak spot for Agatha Christie, like say what you will about me. I also love high fantasy. Like I love reading. So I saw a ton of people at the beginning of the year posting that reading more, specifically reading more like business sort of sales type of books was on their 2022 to-do list or resolution list or intention list, whatever you want to call it. And so I decided, hey, let's do this book club. So this is session 1 with Tech-Powered Sales by Justin Michael and Tony Hughes. Really interesting book. And the reason that I wanted to start with this book is because I feel like an understanding of tech-powered sales, of the sales tech stack, of your technical quotient is like table stakes. It's a must-have for the modern seller. It is, I can say without a doubt, the most well-researched sales book that I have ever read. Like maybe the Challenger books are close, but like it is wild how well-researched this book was. So tech-powered sales, achieve superhuman sales skills is what we're going to have a discussion around today. The authors are Justin Michael and Tony Hughes, so definitely make sure to follow them on LinkedIn. Tony wrote a previous book called Combo Prospecting, and it was based on Justin and Justin's methodologies. And I think just overall, Justin has a really unique perspective. Like he just doesn't go with the echo chamber that is mostly LinkedIn. He really puts out, I think, some opinions and some perspectives that aren't as common and are really thought-provoking. So let me, joining from Ireland. Emma, what time is it in Ireland? Oh, and it looks like we have Patrick here. Let me add him to the stream. I think I have him in. Yes, Patrick, are you with us?
Hey, I think that I am.
Yay. Oh my gosh, we're doing it. I started way too early because I thought it was going to take me more time than it did to like get everything set up and get us live. But that's not been the case. So we're live here on LinkedIn. I'm also on the side. Oh, and we lost him. We'll see if he comes back. Running TikTok. So let's see. Okay, so we have hello from Ireland. Only the first few pages. Awesome. Happy to know you have the book. Aaron from North Carolina. Hello. Okay, I think we have.
I don't know what happened. I don't know if I clicked something or I think I accidentally clicked leave studio. That was my fault.
You know, that's okay. We're figuring this out together because it's your first LinkedIn Live as well, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I've seen them before, but I haven't actually been on one.
Yeah. So we're doing it together. It's the first session of the Business Book Club. It's your first LinkedIn Live. It's my first time hosting. It's my first time using StreamYard. A couple of people have dropped in the chat to let me know it's their first time joining a LinkedIn Live. I don't know how many people have simultaneously streamed a LinkedIn Live and a TikTok Live. I'd assume not many. So I feel like we're just checking off a lot of the first.
We're breaking trail here.
We are. So what I was sharing before you joined was a little bit of the background of the book and of the authors. I've shared that it legit took me 6 weeks to read, and I have it's all highlighted because it was just so meaty and so dense.
So dense, yeah.
Yeah. I read it like a college textbook versus like a, quick kind of normal sales book read.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
So like maybe we'll start with, because I created a couple slides. I don't know if you can see them.
I can. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, cool. And this deck is available to everybody afterwards. And hopefully it will give everybody that hasn't already purchased the book a little bit of extra like food for thought and incentive to read the whole book, because even the templates and stuff that are in there, it's like, how did I buy all this for only like $19 or whatever the cost of the book was? But I think a good place to start is defining what technical quotient is, because that's a really core part of the book.
Did you know that was the original working title? Like when the manuscript was out, it was originally called TQ. That was the name of the book.
Not know that, Patrick. That is not a very sexy title.
That's why the publisher changed it.
Oh, that's really interesting. So, I mean, I just love to hear your take on TQ and why it matters.
Well, I mean, my take on TQ is, so I was born in what I call the Nintendo generation, sort of an in-betweener generation between Gen X and the millennials. 1985, anyone that was born in the mid 80s, from sort of like, 82 to like 87, it's like this weird in-betweener group of people that grew up with the technology. So like we're seeing the circulars come in with the Sunday paper, which like doesn't even exist anymore. When I was a kid, like the telephone was attached to the wall with a cord. You had to pick it up and like press numbers on it, like actual physical buttons, and then talk to your friend's parents and ask them permission to speak with your friend, like, which doesn't even exist anymore. And then by the time we were in, we finished high school, it's like everybody was on the internet, and like you don't even have to pick up the phone to order a pizza anymore. Like it all changed very, very quickly. So like when I was a freshman in high school, I am circling back to a point here. When I was a freshman in high school, I worked on websites, HTML web projects on GeoCities on Yahoo, and then that's ancient history. By the time I graduated, right? Like everybody has a cell phone and sort of like the web, server-side applications, and the web's moving very quickly, and the graphics are elevating week over week over week. So I pretty much didn't have a choice but to be very technologically proficient. And I think like everybody that's sort of in my generation, in that Nintendo, I call it the Nintendo generation because the Nintendo came out the year I was born. TQ is just really just about being able to anything from plug in a peripheral device to your TV and get it to work like a DVD player, or if you want to go really ancient history like a VHS player, all the way through like getting your calendar to sync to your to the Calendly or Gmail or Outlook, or getting all those different pieces of software to work together.
Yeah.
And why is it important? Well, it's the only thing that is going to be able to differentiate you as a sales rep. Like, the people that can do that are going to have an incredible advantage over the people that ignore what the outcome might be without it.
Yeah.
Like the reps that are tech enabled that like can leverage those things are going to vastly outperform the ones that do not.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm first and foremost also an elder millennial. So I really get I really identify with everything you're saying. And like, I feel that, yes, like we did grow up with the technology as things like AI and ML came on the scene. We were kind of experiencing that evolution as the tech was evolving. So yeah, that's so true. And I think like even in my own career, I've like watched the access to automation fundamentally change my ability to be effective as I sell. And I don't drop in the comments if anybody else did this, but I mean, I used to run my sequences and my personalization from an Excel doc into a mail merge on Outlook.
Yeah.
And now we have tools like Outreach or SalesLoft or whatever you're using, that you can set it up. You can actually see what all the clicks and replies and opens. I mean, it's just insane.
I guess to sort of like bring it full circle, like the present day, like what I was talking about, like it's one thing to be able to use Outreach, right? But then it's another thing to be able to understand how Outreach connects to Salesforce and what that actually means for the business outcome of the activities that you're doing every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like those are like two different. We're talking about like one of them is like using an app, and then the other one is understanding how that application ties into the larger business process that impacts the entire revenue organization.
Yeah, it's so true. One of my favorite parts of the book, there's a piece where Justin and Tony outline like table stakes tech stack. Where is it? It's page 20, 21 and 22. Where they outline like what the table stakes tech stack is and like why each piece of it matters and how it complements one another, and then what's like the advanced tech stack looks like and how every addition you make allows your team to level up and better do the work that really matters, which is selling versus all of the adding notes to Salesforce and updating your tasks and calendaring things by hand. Yeah, I really love that. So we have quite a few people jumping in and joining us. I'm so jazzed to see all of you. Jeff has already finished the book. That's amazing. Jeff, drop a comment and let us know what you thought. It looks like Kate is 58% of the way through the audiobook and loving it. Michelle, welcome. We have quite a few people over here on the TikTok as well. Another person saying they are also an elder millennial, and a few folks saying that they are a couple of pages in. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining Patrick and I. So Patrick, we kind of jumped right in. For folks that were on early, I gave them a bit of your background, how you absolutely like smoked me at GTM games and I left like with my head bowed low, how you came from title, you're in a new head of BD role at Scaled now. But do you have like a big picture bio that you can share with folks who maybe don't know you already?
Yeah, I guess where I'll start is the GTM games. My claim to fame in sort of on the dark social circuit is that I'm the only person to have lost the go-to-market games 5 times.
Okay, that actually does make me feel better.
I've never actually, I've been on a couple of times with Justin, and I've never, I made it to the finals once, but it whatever, it's all good. I guess a quick flyby of my career. I started out. I was actually a high school math teacher when I first got out of college, and then I got a job in insurance. I thought I was going to become an actuary, which are like sort of statisticians that is do statistics for insurance companies, basically. So I started doing work in that vein, but then very quickly realized that the brokers, the insurance brokers, the people that were selling the policies were making a lot of money. And it seemed like I could do what they were doing, but they would probably have a hard time doing what I was doing. So that's why that's like how I got into sales. And then insurance is a tough industry. So I got into tech pretty quickly after that. It sort of came into play in this haphazard way. Sorry.
And then you have a connection to Justin. How did you and Justin meet? Because he had shared with me when we were chatting and I was preparing for this that you're fully trained in like the Justin Michael methodology. So how did that come about?
Yeah. So super interesting. I got into tech sales. I did some top of funnel like BDR, SDR type work for probably about 5 years. I want to say like 3 to 5 years. I was in those like individual contributor kind of roles. And then like towards the end, I reached out to Justin because
I can probably put us side by side.
It seemed like he was one of the people that actually knew what he was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So I reached out to him to coach me, to mentor me. And so that's how we actually met. So I was in
that like just on LinkedIn or how?
Yeah. Just on LinkedIn, I grabbed his email address. I hammered him. I called his cell phone. Like I went after him like as though I was like trying to open an account or something like that.
You're like, hello, you are actually my key account, and I will close you.
Yes, that's exactly the point. And the reason why I was reaching out to him is because I got hired to sort of spearhead this business development function for a company that was selling to the biggest companies in the world. It was a company that just got acquired by MasterCard. Actually, it was I had a list of 10 strategic accounts. I was on this global strategic account team, and I was trying to open new business for the account directors there. So I wanted somebody to help, give me advice, like how do I do this? And Justin seemed like the guy that could help me figure it out. So I hired him to coach me. And within a month, I had already sort of read the early manuscript for what was then called TQ, which became Tech Powered Sales. I'd read combo prospecting. I had done all of the research. Like I already knew.
For folks that don't know, combo prospecting was written by Tony Hughes, who's the co-author, and it was based on Justin, as far as I understand, right?
Yeah. Justin is the cyborg rep that they talk about in combo prospecting.
I don't know, for folks that don't have the book, or maybe they got like a audio copy, I have to tell you, like some of the pictures in the book are hilarious. There's like these pictures of them as cyborgs.
And my favorite is the case studies that are at the end, like those case studies that just talk about like the unreal results that they got. Anyway, like I hired Justin, and after I think it was maybe a month went by, I had paid him for like 6 weeks of coaching, and like a month went by, and he basically was like, "Dude, I'm out of stuff to tell you what to do," because like the first meeting that we had, he's like, "Oh, you should try this and this and this." And I was like, "Oh, what you mean like this?" And I like pulled up my screen and showed him that I was already doing that. So I was already doing a lot of the stuff
right
that he was suggesting. So that was like the first time that we met. It was like that kind of an interaction. And then, a month went by and he was like, "Dude, you should probably just quit your job and come and work with me." Because I have all this.
That's a nice compliment.
And you're probably one of the only people in the world that's like even up to speed with any, like, I don't have to explain this to you. Like, you already know how to do it. Like I've shown you pretty much everything that there is to show that I have to show somebody. So, from then on, it became this sort of collaboration. So that's and he and I, like, he showed me everything I know, but I sort of helped him codify it because of that's why I mentioned the teaching background, because I have a background in teaching math. So just taking complex topics and then breaking them down into the digest ways is something that was pretty natural for me. So that's how our relationship developed, I guess. Like that was, you know, a lot of the Justin Michael method stuff that happened. Like, yeah, he definitely taught me how to do everything, and then I sort of helped him. I was like, dude, we should just write this down. He was like, well, what do you mean write it down? I was like, no, like everything we just said, like we should just write it down.
Like, that's valuable. We should be tracking this.
And I mean,
don't
he
know if you
already worked out tech powered sales. Like that was already, like, you know, well on the way. But
yeah.
Some of the more tactical guides and stuff that are out there, I kind of helped bring into fruition. So yeah, that's you know,
awesome. I love that. I don't know. I'm like really laughing right now because there's an entire portion of the book, like a half a chapter of the book that's dedicated to like showing up to virtual meetings and like getting your lighting right. And I don't know if you can see what's going on in my life right now, but I literally have like, I have this, and I have like another one over. I have so many lights pointed at my face right now. And it's the sun is setting in Chicago, and then it's, you know, it's about ready to be pitch black. So despite having like 4 lights on, I just feel like I'm sitting here in the dark.
Well, I'm pretty lucky because, you know, like if you want the light behind the camera, there's a big window that's right behind me that's like, and it's still light out here. And then I've got this nice bookshelf behind me that makes me look super smart. Like I've probably read like 4 of the books on that shelf.
It's actually just a bunch of copies of Tech Powered Sales that Justin made you buy to get those pre-sale. Well, we'll see. My office right now is doubling as like a workout studio, a spare bedroom, like wine storage. And I'm about ready to move some things around so that I can have that backlight and have a better view. So maybe by the next one, I won't just be like sitting in the dark trying to catch the light. Good. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Add to stream. How do I do this? For sharing some of that background, and obviously for taking the time to join us and share some of your experiences and expertise. We have a few more folks that have joined over on the TikTok. Greg, I don't know how to pronounce that. He's from a place in Wisconsin that looks like it's pronounced Oconomowoc. So welcome from there. Yeah, welcome from there. So
we are live on TikTok though. Is that true?
Yeah. You want to see?
I happen to have a TikTok channel that I would love to promote if I could do that.
Yeah, you can look at TikTok. TikTok can look at you. Tell everybody your handle.
It's at PDub the Joyce. PDUBTHEJOICE at PDub the Joyce.
At PDub the Joyce.
You'll see a bunch of me playing the guitar.
Well, we at the end of this deck that I'm going to share, I have like a homework, like follow us slide to remind me.
Okay.
And I'll add your handle to that as well. So like I had said, when I was reading the book, like I literally read it with a highlighter in hand, and I was going through reading it more like a textbook. And so I pulled out some of the kind of like fave facts that they collected through their research and their conversations, and some of the kind of aha moments. And a few of the kind of fave facts that really resonated with me, I shared on the screen. So I'd love to hear from you if some of these were also your like, wow, that is a really powerful sort of statistic piece of the book, or if it was something else. And certainly from the folks that have joined us on LinkedIn, on TikTok, drop it into the comments, which one of these facts like really speaks to you.
Yeah. So just scanning these really quickly, I think that was supposed to say 20 to 30% accurate. Like,
what does it say? Oh yeah, just $sign. A little subconscious there, huh?
Well, yeah, but yeah, no, that is the most important stat that's on there.
Yeah,
this is actually one of the more interesting points, and even in my role as like head of sales development at Sapling, the first thing that I'm trying to correct is the data acquisition. piece of it.
Mhm.
Like I did an interview with Justin where I asked him actually 2 times, like, if you had a limited budget and there was only one piece of technology that you could spend money on, like, what would it be? And I was looking for him to give me like a piece of software or something. He said, actually, it's the data. Like, you need to have strong data, because if you have a list of phone numbers that you know are accurate, that's like way better than any piece of software that you could ever buy.
Right. Like, what are you going to do with Salesforce and Groove and Salesloft and XYZ if the data that you're putting, like, garbage in, garbage out?
Yeah. Yeah. It's the most important thing. And just to double click on that, like, all these vendors, you know, despite what they claim, like, they're mostly, especially if they have a wide audience, at best, they're 90 days out of date. They update quarterly.
Mm-hmm.
That means that, I mean, like, you know, you're paying for Zoom Info. It's giving you data that happened 3 months ago.
That's so true. A funny debate / like knockdown drag out fight that happened in my last head of sales role was about territory allocation, because it's a global company, global territory allocation. And the other regional head of sales said that it should be based on location of the chief procurement officer based on Zoom Info data. And I was like, the amount of things to unpack from that sentence is like, just shows such a lack of understanding of how territory should be run, but also just of that data quality piece. And maybe if we had a team in-house that was cleaning that data taken out of Zoom Info like all the time, so that we knew it had been hand cleaned, or something Justin calls out a lot in the books is leveraging virtual assistants that are based, you know, offshore, then maybe. But I was just like, oh my God, like to your point, I didn't know it was 20 to 30%, but I was like, the most accurate data I feel like I've ever seen is like 75, 80%.
Yeah. And if you get a VA to scrub it for you, it can be up to 98% accurate.
Yeah.
And this is not something that's just unique to elite sales reps. This is like elite software companies do this, like Microsoft. Microsoft has like entire offshore teams that are doing nothing but scrubbing data for them.
Yeah.
And when you talk about territory allocation, like when you're carving territories, a lot of times what you see in these like mid-market SaaS companies is like basically like well-educated guesswork.
Right.
You know, testing hypotheses and sort of like iterating over and over again, and the years go by and like they get stronger and stronger. But what you see at the highest level, when these territories are created equitably, is you see a combination between like a top-down approach and a bottom-up analysis. You know, so there's like this top-down number you get from finance. You're splitting the quota. You know, all of these like go-to-market motions are somehow in sync together, right? Like you have a quota that gets allocated amongst the reps, but then you also have this bottom-up analysis where, okay, well, these are the geographic territories that we have, or these are the revenue bands that we can go into, or these are the different, you know, verticals that we can sell into. And this is how much propensity is in each one. So there's this sort of like this one way that I've heard it described by the CTO of a company called Fullcast.io that was founded by a former Microsoft executive named Dharmesh and the VP of go-to-market planning from Salesforce.com. His name was Bala. Bala calls it the philosophical horse trading that happens.
Philosophical horse trading.
Because Salesforce is a company that's like, they've got 3,000, 7,000 reps. You know, they've got thousands.
Right. 1,000, yeah.
And they're like really, really dialing into these territories and trying to give each of their reps like an equitable, you know, a patch of accounts that they're assigned, that they have like a certain amount of propensity in to actually hit that revenue number, instead of just, you know, like the sloppy sort of easy answer is to sort of just like
draw a weird line around it.
or like take a number you have from finance and triple it, and then like you know, the quarter down that way, and then like we'll definitely get there, but like you're gonna burn out a bunch of your reps.
Yeah, I'm actually like Pavilion, that used to be Revenue Collective. I'm in the CRO school right now, and one entire session like a week or two ago was just on forecasting, and that was the exact conversation. A couple other people have hopped into our TikTok. I'm actually looking for SaaS sales opportunities in the financial sector. Matt, that is hyper specific, but I hope that you are networking with people on LinkedIn and following the types of companies that you want to work at. Craig, I need to work on my fake laugh when I have to pass the time during awkward combos. Any tips? That might be for a different live, Craig. But just for context, because the folks on TikTok can't see this slide, the data point that Patrick pulled out was, despite the claims of vendors, all data sources are about 20 to 30% inaccurate. And that is on page 105 of the book, if you have the actual book. For folks on LinkedIn, drop what your fave fact was. I also pulled out a few aha moments. And I think some of them are like, it's stuff that you kind of know. Like the first one is the average inside sales rep has a tenure of less than 1.4 years, and 83% of ISRs fail to hit target. And like, you kind of know it because you see it, but it's very anecdotal. And to see it written, particularly like it was written in the intro, I think it was a real aha moment as I opened the book to be like, oh shit, like that's what we're solving for.
Yeah. And what jumps out at me is the last point there. Don't be worried about being replaced by AI. Be worried about being replaced by a high TQ rep. That is exactly what you should be worried about. So here's why. If you hire a team of 10 that is executing against an inefficient process, but then one of those people actually has identified a bunch of the inefficiencies and then starts like 10xing the output of the entire team, well, guess what? They're just going to fire everybody and like keep that person. Like they would much rather have like one person that can produce the same output rather than, hiring and managing 10 people is like much more difficult. Like there's just inefficiencies built into like the processes that people are used to. But if, I believe that the next iteration, this was on a podcast that I was on with Marcus Kauke. He asked me, what's coming next in terms of sales trends and whatnot. I think what's next is actually like having that super high powered sales development operator that kind of manages technology really well and can, get these like superhuman outputs and produce enough opportunities to sort of like spread across the entire sales team, like as one or maybe two people. Versus like these 10-person teams that are like kind of have this like clunky process.
Yeah. It's interesting. I just onboarded a client for Sales Team Builder this week, and they have a 6-person team. All of them are running a full cycle. But the kind of head of, as I was going through and learning about each of the team and strengths and weaknesses, she was like, well, there's one guy, Jake, and he does, oh, hi, puppy.
Yeah.
And he does the work of the other 5 reps. And I was like, okay, well, walk me through your tech stack and like, how is he using it differently, or what is he doing that the other folks aren't? And she called out straight away that he just spends his own money on pieces of the tech stack that the company doesn't have.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a no-brainer, especially if you look at a tool like Lavender for like writing cold copy. It's $120 a year. And if you can increase your reply rates by a couple percent for $120, there's no way you're not going to make that back in commissions.
Yeah, Lavender, or one of the data tools like Elite IQ or something like that. Because look, the fact is, like, if you have the numbers and then the rep next to you doesn't, they're relying on the company provided, like say Zoom Info or whatever. But you're supplementing that and nobody else is. You're going to do way better. Like, so yeah, it's. I think that those there's like a huge opportunity in terms of sales development tech for like product-led growth, sort of like Zoom. Like Zoom took off because people were frustrated with WebEx.
They certainly didn't take off because they have good cold copy.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's true. It's true because reps were buying individual licenses for Zoom, because they were frustrated with the video conferencing solution that they had. This one was much easier. It was like single click, yada yada. You can get people to a meeting, and it just worked better.
Yeah.
And then Zoom was able to say like, hey, they were to go and get the meeting and say, hey, 8 of your reps are already using us. Like they're paying for individual licenses. Why don't we just like group this together, take that off of their debit card and put it onto the company? That's how they were winning.
And
that
now
business.
you have an enterprise sale.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so true. It's so true. So the kind of aha moment that we pulled off of this slide was, don't worry about being replaced by AI or robots. Be worried about being replaced by a high TQ rep. If I had to guess, if you are showing up here on LinkedIn, on TikTok, to a conversation about tech-powered sales, you're probably going to be the rep replacing other reps who aren't the sort of modern sellers who are staying, at the top of their game when it comes to tech stacks.
And not necessarily replacing everybody at your current company, but you're actually going to get the better opportunities, and you're going to get the better, as your career develops, like you're going to get the access to things that the others are not going to get access to. They might get promoted to account executive in that one particular role, but what you're going to be able to do is go and get in at the founder level, or the co-founder level, or at the VP level, or at one of these early stage companies, and then skyrocket them and get equity. You're going to get access to that stuff when others are not.
Yeah, one of the sort of calls to action that I have at the end of the slide deck, that's something that Justin and Tony put in the book as well, is to get certified on as many platforms as you have. And I think the kind of like access to understanding and training on tech stacks was something that I had a hard time digesting at first. Like I came up in a not very sexy tech stack environment. And it did really hold me back from being able to get the types of opportunities I wanted, just in terms of other sales jobs, not even founder equity type roles. Granted, this was like a decade ago. And so things like Sales Loft and like the level of free HubSpot trainings and stuff, those didn't exist. And like if the company you worked for wasn't willing to invest in their tech stack or wasn't willing to train you on their tech stack, you were just kind of screwed. So like I cannot encourage folks enough to go out and take advantage of the tons of free training out there that can help you get certified and can help you understand pieces of the tech stack, even if your own company isn't using them, or even if your own company isn't investing in the training. My God, your dog is like taking over the live.
He's taking over the live stream. See, he's like bothering me. He's like, hey, dude, I'm not on camera.
Oh my gosh, you're so cute. What's his name?
Charlie.
Charlie?
Yes.
Hi, Charlie.
Yeah.
Oh, such a good boy. Oh my gosh. Charlie, just take it from here. We don't need Patrick.
Charlie writes my best email. Honestly, like the stuff that comes out that like ends up winning, like it was all him.
And we have a comment here from Michelle. I'm going to try a new feature. I think I'm showing it. Can people see it on the bottom of the screen? Look at me learning how to use new technology right here live on a live stream.
Look at that. That's cool.
I'm doing it, Patrick. But yeah, comment from Michelle. It's even overwhelming in specific industries. Event tech stack is huge. Having spent a ton of my career in the event space, I can absolutely validate that, Michelle. It's like all of the normal tech stack you need, plus all of the event specific tech stack you need. And when you're using technologies like Cvent that make you want to pull your hair out, I wish you luck, Michelle.
And quick shout out to Topia.io. They've got some event technology that's pretty cool. That's sort of merging stuff that's happening in the metaverse with like virtual events.
Spell it.
Topia.io.
Topia. All right, I'm putting that in my browser too. I spend a lot of time talking about Web3, so you're right there. You're hitting me with the right type of research to do.
Yeah, it's basically like it's almost like a video game where like you get this little avatar that's walking around in this like virtual event space, and you can get a bunch of people there. So it's sort of like bringing back like what we've been missing with these virtual events. Like instead of just being like a Zoom webinar or something.
Yeah.
where you're like, people are running virtual events and you're like sitting in a booth and you're like waiting for people to join your Zoom call. And it's like this sort of like impersonal kind of thing. It's almost like, brings it back to like what events were like when you could walk around in person and actually interact.
Oh, fun. Okay, well, I will check that out.
Yeah, I just thought that it was a cool mention.
Good shout. Yeah, TOPIA.io. Yeah, good shout. Okay, so a couple of questions that I'd love to throw at you. I'd love to throw out at our audience and folks on TikTok as well. I'm curious, like, what percentage of the time, and drop this into the comments, what percentage of the time do you really think is spent selling versus doing everything else? And when I did a handover from my last company, I figured that it was about like 30% of time was spent selling and 70% of time was spent doing everything else. Like what's your take? And again, folks in the comments, drop what percent you think it is for you.
I'm going to give a really mean answer here. And I don't know if you've ever seen the stats on like an American football game, like what percentage of the time they actually spend playing football compared to like the dead air that's there. And it's something like 2%. It's like most of Yeah. I'm going to look it up now. What percent?
2%? Jesus.
Of time is spent in a football game.
What do you think, TikTok? What do you think the percent of time spent selling?
Okay, here you go. Out of 3 hours and 12 minutes, actual minutes of play, 11 minutes.
Shut up. Oh my God. That's a great analogy, though.
As a percentage, that's what it feels like anyway.
Oh my gosh, that is a great analogy. Oh my word. I'm curious also to hear from folks how many tools are in their tech stack. And it's funny, when I was reading this book, so I mentioned earlier that like I came up in an environment that didn't have a super sexy tech stack. But then when I was reading the book, I was actually sort of thinking about how many tools we did have in our tech stack. And like, granted, yes, it was a homemade CRM, which now that's like the biggest red flag ever. And I would run the other direction if a company was like, yes, we have a homemade CRM for you to use. But we had great call tracking software. When I started in B2B sales, it was 15 years ago. And even at that time, we had like live call coaching software where we could record and do post-call coaching, and we could whisper and join the calls live. And then I talked to other people and I realized that like 10, 15 years ago, like they did not have it. Nobody really was doing that until like, the gongs were on the scene. So yeah, curious, drop it into the comments on TikTok, on LinkedIn. Like how many tools are in your current tech stack? Because my sort of knee-jerk reaction was like, oh, like not very many, like 5. And then I started counting them and was like, oh, it's actually like 12.
I have an interesting opinion on this too, because I know that it's growing and I know that more and more tech is getting used. But this is something that the early days of my training with Justin, one of the main principles is that you build the process from the bottom up, assuming that all you have to work with is 2-way radio, a pad of paper, and a pencil. If you can't do your process with the minimal amount of tools required, then you've done something wrong. Meaning, the way that I say that is it's almost biblical in the way that I say it. It's the tech stack was made for the sales rep. The sales rep was not made for the tech stack, right? The technology should enhance the process that you're already doing. It should amplify and expand your coverage there, but it should not limit what you're actually doing. If that makes any sense.
No, it does. It does. And I think in a lot of ways, like a great example is there was a company that I got headhunted by last year. And so I reached out to a couple of people on LinkedIn that already worked there to be like, hey, like tell me a little bit about the tech stack, like tell me what's going on. And one of them sent me a screenshot of their tech stack and it was like 40 something tools. And it was like, at this point, it's honestly kind of burdensome.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, like how can you possibly integrate all of those tools into your daily workflow without it not like taking more time than it buys you back. So I totally hear what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I know we're almost at time here. We're already at 5:45, and I started a little bit early, so I might skip these last questions. But for folks in the chat, or for folks that are watching this later when it's on demand, drop your replies to these questions so that other people can see your answers and sort of learn from what's going on in your organization. I think one question that I'd love to ask you, and I feel like somebody else has probably already asked you this, but like, what's that one piece of automation that you wish you had that you don't? Or like, what's that next piece of automation that you want to see somebody invent, or next sort of, like ML piece or AI piece?
That for me, the number one thing would be like in call, like a guided selling piece, some sort of like a heads up display. Like when I'm on a call, either I'm on a call that's connected through like a sales engagement platform, but then that SEP is sort of like listening to the call in real time and then telling me like, did you ask this question? Oh, you're talking too much. Or, make sure that you get to this point, or, oh, they've identified that pain point, or, oh, ask another question here, double click on this, sort of like helping to guide the rep along the way, almost like a live call coaching would do, where you can listen in and then speak into the ear. I feel like it's well within the realm of possibility to come up with some kind of a technology that does that. I think that would be the thing that could happen.
So like a next level SEP. And for folks that don't know the lingo, an SEP is a sale engagement platform. And going back to page 22 of the book, some examples are Outreach, SalesLoft, Ring DNA, Groove, like Apollo. So lots of SEPs. Ample Market. I actually got to meet their founders last year, and that's a cool.
Ample Market's really cool. Gong is really cool too.
Gong is very cool.
Gong was happening live in real time on the call through the sales engagement piece. I feel like that would be incredible.
I feel like there was a part in the book that was talking about like what that evolution could look like if it's like, hey, don't forget your prospect actually mentioned this priority 15 minutes ago and you haven't dug deeper into it. You only have 10 minutes left on the call. We suggest you ask them this question.
Yeah. And I mean, on a scheduled Zoom call or, video call or whatever, like that's one thing. I even mean on the first cold call also, like that's listening to my phone call and is like prompting me to make sure that I get to these certain qualification points so we can book them right into a demo without having to do a separate discovery. Like that would be killer.
That would be cool. I'm picturing like old school qualification checklists that I used to like have my reps do on a piece of paper, and like they'd have to check it off and be like, okay, well, when is the confirmed follow-up call? Like, what is the job title they're reporting to? But being able to have that fully automated and have those prompts. Yeah. Okay. I'm on board with that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Let's just invent it together and get rich and retire.
Hey, I mean, the IP is there. We just put it out there. Anybody listening to this, like you can go and invent this and just tag me on LinkedIn or something.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Just don't forget Patrick and I. Oh, amazing. So what does it mean for people? And it sounds like a couple folks have finished the book, but I know a lot of the people that have joined us aren't quite there. These were two of my kind of big, like, this is what it means. The modern seller needs to invest in improving their TQ. Tech-powered sales estimates sales will be fully automated by 2055, which I was like, okay, that's like a pretty long runway. I'm okay with that. Something we already talked about, get certified in as many platforms as you can. That was a big one. And I thought something that was really interesting that I maybe wouldn't have thought of myself was that if we get really, really, really good at AI and automation, and we get too good at fooling the prospect with it, like it's too authentic, it's going to get regulated, like it's going to get red flagged and will require a warning label. So it's a real call to action to be an early adopter so that you get the full benefit of all of these new technologies. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think sort of being in the first or second wave of people that sort of catching on to a technology or a trend or some type of a pattern is always going to be beneficial. But I think that it's like this never ending sort of like fractal process where like it's like it's not like you get to the early stage one time and then you're done. It's like you always are going to be looking for what's on the horizon and what's next. I think it's important to like never stop moving in that sense. Always looking for the next best piece of technology or process, but then like tying it back to like what are the actual business outcomes that you're striving for. And like at the end of the day, like we're in the business of selling software, of like making money selling software. So whatever's not to get too caught up in the next greatest trend or piece of technology, and staying focused on the outcome, sort of like eyes on the ball kind of mentality, I think is just always going to be a winning strategy.
Yeah, that's a good call to action. Like, don't just do it to do it. Know what the desired outcome is, and then make sure that while you're on the journey, you're going in that right direction. And something else that you said was like that process of continuous improvement. And that is like personally one of my favorite things about sales as a profession, that it is a profession that is constantly striving to like always get that 1% better. But we so clearly know what we need to do at the end of the day. And that is, help our customers and deliver revenue. And I love that sort of balance that we get to have.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think that the balance is important. And sometimes it's even a matter of like peeling back a layer or two of technology. Like it's very easy to get hypnotized in this sort of tech-enabled world that we live in, and like stay really, really focused on how do we use the tech. Like, for example, we were talking about CRMs earlier. Salesforce has been ubiquitous, and HubSpot and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes like a good old fashioned Google sheet to keep track of what accounts you're trying to go after is actually going to untie your hands to be able to go and move a lot faster. So like, just being willing to challenge the status quo. That's what I would say.
It's true. I ran an ABM process in 2020 as a test. So it was the first time in the company history that an ABM process had ever been run. It was the first time I had ever run one, and I did it largely without cross-functional support because it wasn't something that they got or believed in. And I set up the sequences in a Google Doc. I mean, I obviously had them running in Salesloft as well, but like really had my key accounts mapped out, had like the personalization pieces, the uniqueness. And yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan. Obviously you can see I have a Google slide deck here. So I'm a big fan. I have a couple other people that joined us on TikTok. I'll give them a shout out. Jessica says, woohoo, I love women in sales. I'm also in SaaS sales. Welcome. And we have Jeff that mentioned that he spends only about 20% of his time selling, which I think that's like, I said it was probably about 30%. So it's kind of shocking when you really like break down your calendar. I color code my Google Workspace. So it's really easy for me to see like exactly when sales calls are happening, or I'm like creating presentations, and when I'm doing everything else. And I feel like just the visual representation is a good reminder too. We're almost at time. This is my top takeaway, and then I'd love to hear you. My top takeaway is that tables, high TQ is table stakes for the modern seller. But like what is going to make you an elite performer isn't just having high TQ. It is being able to still balance that high TQ with the human element. Like we still really need to make sure that we are not getting, kind of to your earlier point, not getting distracted by the shiny things and by like the next new thing, the next addition to our tech stack, and really digging deeper into the humanity of sales.
Yeah. I think that is a valid point. Like, keep it human. But almost to play counterpoint to your point, like, on the other side of the token, my biggest takeaway was this. I don't know if you guys have heard of the 80-20 rule or the Pareto principle.
Mm-hmm.
There's a book out there called the 80-20 rule that to me was like super impactful. And what it comes down to is efficiency metrics. Like that's actually is what is going to propel you to be the most impactful sales rep, the most prolific sales rep, is how efficient you are with each of the actions that you're doing.
And for folks that don't know Pareto, the gist is that like 20% of your outcome or 80% of your outcomes are going to come from 20% of your work, right?
Yeah. Like most of the input in any system is probably wasted energy. Like there's at most 20% of your input, just like you were saying, is responsible for at least 80% of your output. And it could even be stronger than that. It could even be 99-1. So it could even be 1% of your input was responsible for 99% of your output. So here's the quick example that I use is like, if I'm a sales rep and I do 10 sales calls, 4 of them go close lost, 5 of them are, $10,000 deals. And then one of them is $1 million deal, right? Then I have $1,050,000 in revenue that came from 10 sales calls, but like most of it came from that 1 out of the 10. So like 10% of my input was responsible for like 99% of my output. What did I do to get to that $1 million deal? Well, let me just do more of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like kind of the concept of slow down to speed up. Like, why are we just banging out metrics? Are we actually taking the time to be like thoughtful and intentional about the right metrics and the right way to engage, or in this case, like the right way to leverage our tech stack to get the greatest outcomes with the least amount of work?
Yeah. And that to me is what TQ is about. That's what tech powered sales is about. Like that was like the overarching sort of theme that like I had pulled from my time with Justin and working with him and reading through the text. Like that's what I got out of it. And I think that just sort of like plays counterpoint to this, which is like, yes, be human, but also like use your human mind to figure out like where the efficiencies are, where the inefficiencies are, get rid of those and do more of the efficient things.
Yeah, I love that. I don't think they're mutually exclusive though.
No, I don't think they are. I just think that it's like, what it would be remiss to mention one without the other.
For sure. I think that's part of what made this book so special is that it was like use tech, which I think to a lot of people seems really impersonal, but it was like use tech to enable you to do the more important stuff or to use your time more wisely. And it's like, it's that nice compliment. Good. That was a great takeaway. We are at time. I left a little bit of homework for folks. That is Patrick and I's LinkedIn's. You can click them directly into the slide deck. I'll go back and I'll add in our TikToks. Mine is Sales Tips Talk. Patrick's is
P-Dub the Joyce.
P-Dub the Joyce. If you haven't already bought the book, go buy the book. I mean, I'm not kidding when I say it is the most well-researched book, the most well-researched sales book I've ever read. I don't think I've read anything like this maybe since like the first time I read Challenger. Like it's a game changer book. And I think everybody really needs to spend the time to read it, even if you have to take 6 weeks and do it with a highlighter.
And pair it with combo prospecting.
Yes, which is, as a reminder, Tony is the other author besides Justin, and Combo Prospecting is Tony's book based on Justin's methodology. And there's a lot of talk about combo prospecting and how to apply it in tech-powered sales. So nice compliment. And then join the next business book club. That is going to be on April 1st. And the book is Heels to Deals. And I am a contributing author, which is super, super exciting. But it's a book about how women are smashing it in B2B sales, some inspirational stories, some really fun stories. And like 7 or 8 of the other contributing authors are joining me. So it's going to be a blast. And then we have some other books coming up later in the year. Join for one or all of them, whatever your heart desires. But thank you, Patrick, so much for showing up tonight and for sharing your insights. Thank you, everybody here on LinkedIn. Thank you, everybody on TikTok for showing up. this was a really great discussion. So happy to have had it with all of you.
Awesome. Thanks very much for having me.
Thanks, Patrick. I don't know how to hang up, actually. Maybe I press end broadcast.
I'm just going to leave and then ping me after if you want.